Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make this super easy mesh cardigan. Please ignore the bad lighting. I'm editing this the night before I'm supposed to post it, and ignore my loose ends. I lost my darning needle, but this cardigan can be worn two different ways. So let's get into it. Here are the materials I used. I used a very thin yarn, but you can use whatever yarn you have on hand along with the recommended hook size. Here are the abbreviations I'll use, so now let's get into it. Here are the measurements you'll need for the front panel. You honestly don't really need a measuring tape for this, you can just hold it up next to you as you go. For a quick overview of how we're going to do the front panels, we'll start here on the left, then do 2 rows of double crochet, followed by 3 rows of mesh. Then you'll continue doing 3 rows of double crochet, 3 rows of mesh until it gets to your underarm length, and then you'll extend it and repeat 3 rows of mesh, 3 rows of double crochet till it's your desired length. First, we're going to start by making a slip knot. So cross the shorter tail of your yarn over the longer working yarn, then place your hook inside of the loop and twist it, and then hold the yarn like you're about to crochet, and then yarn over and pull through, and then pull on it to tighten. Now I'm going to show you how to do a chainless double crochet foundation row. So start off by chaining 2. This will not count as a double crochet. And then yarn over and go into the first chain that we made, which is the second one from the hook. Then yarn over and pull up a loop. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through 1. This creates the chain. And then yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2 again, and this creates the double crochet. So now we're going to repeat this. So yarn over and go into the chain that we created. If you look here on the bottom, you'll see this loop going across, and then there's one behind it. Go in through that and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through 1 to create the chain. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now just repeat this till you reach your measurement A. Now I've gotten to my desired length. I have 37 double crochets. You want to make sure that you have an odd number, which is 21 centimeters or 8.5 inches. So I'm going to chain up 1 and turn my work, and I'll show you a different method of doing your first stitch instead of doing the normal chain, and this will give you straighter edges that are easier to work into later on. We're going to do an extended single crochet, so go into the very first stitch, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 1 loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. Now go into that leftmost loop and yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2 to place a single crochet on top of it. And this is how I'll be doing my first double crochet stitch throughout the rest of this pattern. Now just double crochet like normal until you get to the end of the row. For row 3, start off or chain up 1, turn your work, and start off with your extended single crochet. Then put a normal single crochet on top of it to form a double crochet. We're going to do mesh for these next 3 rows, so chain up 1 and then yarn over and skip 1 stitch, and in the next you'll place a double crochet. So then you'll repeat this, chain up 1, skip 1, and in the next stitch double crochet. Repeat this till the end of the row, and when you get to the next row you can start it as I have explained before and continue doing the mesh, chain 1, skip 1. Now for my more advanced crocheters or people who want more of a challenge, I'll show you how to do 3 rows of mesh at once. So chain up 1 and then single crochet into the very first stitch. Now go into the leftmost loop of that single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 to create another single crochet on top of that one. And you'll repeat this until you have 8 total single crochets stacked on top of each other. Once you have your 8 single crochets, chain up 1 and then yarn over twice, and not including that chain we just made, count 2 of the single crochets down, and in the third we're going to go into those 2 loops and then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over twice again, count down 2 more chains, and in the third go through those 2 loops again, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2. Now yarn over only once, skip 1 stitch, and in the next yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that creates 1 space of mesh. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that creates another. Now yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you have your third space of mesh. Now to continue from this, chain up 1, then yarn over twice, and go into the middle part of the spacing, and you'll go through these 2 loops here. Then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over twice again, and then do the same for the next middle spacing. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over only once, skip 1 stitch, and in the next yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat. Now just repeat this until you reach the end of the row. Now we're going to alternate between doing 3 rows of double crochet with 3 rows of mesh until this is your desired length for the underarm part. Mine is going to be 8 centimeters, so I'm just going to do 2 rows of double crochet to get to that length, then come back. When you get to the end of your double crochet row, make sure you go into the very last stitch. So this may seem like the last stitch, but I've only gone into the chain 1 space. So yarn over and make sure you go into the last stitch. and double crochet. Now I've done 3 rows of double crochets and I'm ready to extend it. And to do that, we're basically going to do more chainless double crochet foundation. So you're just going to yarn over, go into the same stitch that you went into last, yarn over, pull up a loop, this creates the chain, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 to create a double crochet, yarn over, go into the chain you just created, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over once, go into the chain you just created, and we're going to make this long enough to reach the top of your shoulder. I added 18 double crochets. Make sure your total number of double crochets is still an odd number. And from this point on, we're just going to continue alternating 3 rows double crochet, 3 rows mesh. So I'm counting this as 3 rows of double crochet. So now I'm going to go on to do my 3 rows of mesh. And now we're just going until to it do a reaches straight your measurement rectangle. C. Once you finish your front panel, you can chain up 1 and cut your yarn. Your back panel will basically be 2 front panels with an extra bit of space in the middle. For your back panel, make another chainless double crochet foundation, the same number of stitches as your front panel. So this is my front panel in front of me. For your back panel, it's going to be the exact same as your front panel for this half, but you're only going to do 1 row of double crochet for your first row, and after your first row you'll do your 3 rows of mesh, and then however many you have until you extend, and then after you extend do the same number of rows. Now this is the exact same as one of my front panels. You want to end on the bottom side here. If you end on the top, then you'll want to cut your yarn and leave a long tail for your yarn, about twice the size as this length, and because you can use that tail to connect the front panel to the back panel. So you'll cut your yarn and reattach it to the bottom. And now I need to do my 3rd row of double crochet. If you've already done your 3rd row, then you'll do mesh and stop when it's about 3 inches shorter than the longest point on your panel. I've stopped at my desired length, so at this point you'll repeat 3 rows of mesh, 3 rows of double crochet until this entire panel covers about 3/4 of your back. It should reach to the other side of your neck. Back panel is wide enough. Then we're going to extend it again so that it's the height of the tallest part like the front panel was. So now we're basically making the front panel again in reverse. So we're going to do the chainless double crochet foundations again until it is the same number of stitches as on the other side. This to be completely symmetrical, so you're going to do the same thing as you did on the other side of this back panel. So you'll have the same number of rows and you'll shorten it at the end to the same length. Now I have the matching number of rows, so it's time for me to shorten this again. but I ended at the top half of my cardigan, so I'm going to just chain up one and cut my yarn. I cut my tail really short, but don't do that. Cut your tail about twice the length of that top part so you can use it to sew the front and back panel together later on. Now reattach your yarn. You'll just stick your hook through that very first stitch and then put your hook through the loop in your yarn and then just make a chain and pull on the tail to tighten it to make a knot, and then you can do your double crochets as normal. Make sure to crochet over the tail to weave it in as you go so you don't have to do it later on. Now make this the same number of stitches and the same number of rows as you did on the beginning side of this panel. Once you finish this side, then leave your yarn attached and we're going to connect the back panel to the front panel. So place the two shortest sides of each panel next to each other and align it, and then I fold it over so that we can stitch them together. I chain up one just to make this a bit easier, and then for the first stitches I go into the entire thing for each side and slip stitch. Then for the following stitches I only go in through the back loop for the first panel, so only that one loop, and then on the second panel I go through the front loop, which is just that one loop, and then slip stitch. So back loop, front loop, yarn over, pull through, back loop, front loop, yarn over, pull through. Once you finish all of your slip stitches, chain up one, then you can cut your yarn and you can leave the tail relatively short. Then do the same thing to the other side. And when you do the next side, make sure you fold it the same as the other side so the seam left from the slip stitches appears only on one side of the cardigan on the inside. Now to sew together the top part of the cardigan, make sure you're able to see the seam of slip stitches on the side so that all the seams appear on the inside of the cardigan, and notice that the top part will be a bit more difficult to seam because there are no clear stitches like there were on the side. If you have a long tail available to use to slip stitch these parts together, use that. If not, connect your yarn to the inside corner. So we're starting from where the back panel is and we're going towards the sleeve. And then we're going to slip stitch it together the same way as we did the sides. Just make sure that you're not spacing these apart too far since there are no clear stitches to go into. Once you finish your slip stitches, then you can chain up one and turn your work. And we're going to start doing the sleeves. So do an extended single crochet and then place a single crochet on top of it, just like how we start our row any other time. Now do double crochets in each stitch for this entire round. When you get to the lower part of this round, there won't be any more clear stitches, and for that you'll just try to space it out as evenly as possible so that none of the double crochets are too far or too close. Also make sure that you end the round with an odd number of stitches. When you get to the end of the round, go into the first stitch that we did and slip stitch to connect the rounds. Then chain up one, turn, do your extended single crochet with the single crochet on top like normal, and we're just going to double crochet for this round as well. And when you get to the end, slip stitch it together just like we did the first. When you get to the end of the second round, slip stitch them together, and then we're going to do 3 rows of mesh. If you do one row at a time, you'll just slip stitch it together like you do with the double crochet row. If you're doing multiple rows at a time, then I will show you how to connect the multiple rows of mesh. Now I'll show you how to slip stitch multiple rows together. So I have one stitch left here at the bottom, so we'll chain up one and yarn over twice, and we're going to start this off as we normally do. But instead of yarning over once and going into that last stitch, we're going to go directly into the middle part here, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through one. Now yarn over, pull through two, then go into the next space for the middle part, pull up a loop, and then pull through two. Now yarn over, pull through two again, and then go into the top of the double crochet part. Don't go into the chain, you go into the double crochet part, and then pull up a loop and pull through two. Now chain up one, turn your work, and do 3 rows of double crochet followed by 3 rows of mesh until you get to your desired length. Once your sleeve is long enough, come back and I'll show you how to do a scallop trim. Alright, now my sleeve is at my desired length. I have 12 rows total, and so now we're going to do the scallop edge. So chain up one and single crochet into the very first stitch, then skip 2 stitches, and in the third we're going to place 5 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all in the same stitch. Then skip the next 2 stitches, and in the third place a single crochet. Skip 2 stitches, and in the third put 5 double crochets. Then just repeat this pattern until you reach the end of the round. I'm at the end of my round, and I had only one stitch left, so I didn't have enough stitches to do these skip 2, but I still put the 5 double crochets in anyways. It doesn't really matter who's gonna notice, honestly. And slip stitch back into your first single crochet, chain up 1 and clip your yarn. And then you can weave this in later. Now do the same thing to your other sleeve, and then we'll come back to do the rest of the trim. Once you finish both of your sleeves, go back to the bottom of the front panel, and we're going to reattach our yarn here. Once you reattach your yarn, chain up 1, and we're going to go all around the cardigan and put single crochets. When you finish crocheting around the bottom of the cardigan and you get to the corner, place 2 extra single crochets into that last stitch, so there will be 3 total single crochets into that stitch to form the corner, and then you can finish going up and around the cardigan until you get back to where you started. Once you single crochet all around the cardigan, try it on and see where you want the straps to go to tie it, and then place a marker there. And make sure you count the stitches to make sure each marker is on the same stitch number. Chain up 1 and turn your work so that we're going up towards where the stitch marker is, and start off with a single crochet into the very first stitch, skip 2, and then do 5 double crochets just like how we did on the sleeve. So we're going to repeat 5 double crochets in one stitch, skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, 5 double crochets in one stitch, skip 2, and so on. When you get to the area where you'll put your front tie, you want to be on a single crochet stitch. So I just finished doing a shell, and then I'll skip 2, and in the third stitch place a single crochet, and now chain up 40 for our front tie. Once you have a chain of 40, chain up 1 extra chain, and then in the second chain from your hook place a single crochet, and then you'll single crochet in every chain until you get to the end. Once you get to the end of this chain, slip stitch into that same stitch that you put the single crochet in, and then just continue by skipping the next 2 stitches, and in the third you'll place 5 double crochets in that to make another shell, and repeat the same scallop pattern until you reach your next stitch marker, and you'll do the same thing we just did to make the second front tie, and following that you'll just go all around the cardigan doing the scallop edge. And when you get to the end, just slip stitch into the single crochet that we had did at the start of the edging, and chain up 1, cut your yarn, then just weave in your ends and you're done.